Welcome back, everyone. Sorry we missed you yesterday. Can't really do anything when the power's out, and all the backup batteries in the world wouldn't help me because it took out a data node for the internet service as well. So, good times. When a tree falls, it must crush something. So hopefully, everybody's had a good week so far. It's kind of interesting to be out on a Friday. Now we've got Cramer popped a list out yesterday. Of all things, on a JPOW day, he goes and pops out some stuff and talks about some things. Kind of unusual for him. So far, our market's been pretty bullish, and a lot of people were kind of doubting this breakout. And then we took that nice dive yesterday as soon as someone said close the effing door. That was quite funny. Nice big bearish engulfing candle, right? But I wasn't believing that that was going to continue to sell off because it landed right on a key pivot, and it was just right at that angular support from that channel that we've broken out of. This is typical. We'll break out of a channel of some kind or some kind of confirmation of a breakout. We'll always test support and then continue on the trend. So today I was ready to be a bull and did pretty well with that this morning. Now we're just chilling because we got a nice clean 1-for-1 up. We went through our liquidity zone. We could consolidate here for a little while. We might finish the day up, close to 439.50-ish maybe. See if we can get through the weeds here. As far as the generalized pattern goes, is we have this nice, beautiful long run. This accumulation is glorious. It is a range expansion pattern, so it can top out here and come back and retrace back to our dreaded 424 on SPY. But for the most part, if this breaks out and remains bullish, we've got the move behind it to push it on up to the 450s. So stay tuned to SPY. It's going to give you some real good clues here in the next couple, 3 weeks. And the Santa rally might just be setting up right this year. How you guys looking over there at the ETF land?
Yeah, so fun week. Our 2X Teslas and Nvidias have been trading like crazy. Getting a lot of interest in the 2X long Tesla, even though, Tesla's been getting its butt kicked. But have some hope. Cramer came out last night and wasn't negative on Tesla, but short term basically told you not to buy any of the EVs and included Tesla in that short term. So we're covering our short in SJIM on it, but we're not going long because there wasn't really enough there. But certainly for guys buying TSLT, good to know that you're on the other side of Cramer, at least for the moment.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of permeables in Tesla, and that's kind of a known fact. And certainly institutions can take advantage of the volatility of it, and that's what's great about building an ETF on it, especially when it's optionable and leveraged. I love selling options. Looking at the setup on this thing, I was expecting that 207 to hold, and it more or less did. It's setting up kind of the infamous inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So watch this pattern. If it breaks to the bull side and starts breaking across 220s, 222 or so, we could see it start to run up. Pardon me, I'm a little scratchy this morning. Um, but if this breaks down and breaks that 207 just one more time, we could see some good news bears and head on down to the 170s, 160s even as far as that goes. Shorting Elon is never really all that wise. Yes, we've done so in the past and done well with it, but usually he's got a pretty good mind about staying profitable regardless of the economic situations. And you can see I've doped up the chart on Tesla forever.
Yeah, bumping up against its 10-day moving average right here. So, as far as I'm concerned, in all seriousness, could kind of go either way.
Kind of in that range, and it could go definitely either way here. Just let it accumulate a few more days before we make a decision on it. I think is as far as what we would say to everyone else out there. Um, Coming into the next couple of weeks, though, we have some things that are going to be kind of making the market move and dance anyway. So it's probably wise to just wait for this accumulation to show you a break pretty much with everything. But Tesla is definitely one that you would put a spotlight on. Moving on to Cramer's list here. I mean, he had a lot to say yesterday for being a Fed day. He started off with, of course, pounding a table about Disney being crazy, crazy bullish and this and that. I think that's what he said. I don't watch the show. I just look at the numbers.
He's come out a couple times and said good things about Disney. So we did go short Disney and SJIM.
Good stuff. It went seemingly right to our target, just above the previous analyst high, that 88. Went right to our, 50% retracement line. I had this line extended to like here, and this morning I went and drew it the rest of the way out to where we're at now and beyond. And it's right where it expected to turn around. And sure enough, look, daily 200 period. I call that my moving pivot because it's just always dead on with price interaction. Backed right off that sucker, and bodies on the 2-hour even closed underneath that 50% retracement target. So now we're retracing that move from being a good earnings call. Basically, we're right in the middle of it. So short for day traders, short was beautiful. We're right in the area where it's finding support. So maybe some of the day traders will be taking profit here. It's kind of where you see some covering. We've got more ahead if it continues to break this level. Just kind of watch this 2-hour bar from the earnings call and see if it's going to hold that area. I might even put a line on there just to kind of remind me. Essentially, when you get these big bars like this on a breakout after, all this accumulation here into what everybody knows as the bull flag, watch that control bar on that breakout, because sometimes it'll go and retrace the whole damn thing right back to the base or root of the bull flag, as people would call it. You kind of got
and for us on this, I mean, the moment that it breaks yesterday's low, that's that's a short right there.
Yeah, baby. And it can still go shorter. You can definitely
Oh yeah.
also keep an eye on that yesterday's low. You can see right there, and that's kind of right in line with where that previous analyst target was. I'm never going to delete that from the Disney chart, I don't think. So, if it comes up there and rejects it and sets up for more short, well, we'll take more short. No need not to trade what's in front of us. Just kind of be cautious of whether or not this thing's to make any rapid moves, but usually earnings calls are going to be pretty much the gist of that, unless they get some earth-shaking news come out and Disney's going to buy the state of Florida or something like that. Who knows? But we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, this is definitely a good day trading chart, and we can take a few swings on that. I'm going to be watching for it to hit that 88 again and reject, because it's looking like it's setting up to right now. Definitely keep tabs on Disney. Moving on, he went and talked a little bit about Amazon, kind of by comparison, more or less. Let's go and check Amazon's ticker out. We've been keeping very good notes on Amazon. Bullish, 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 bullish. We day traded that nice bullish bounce this morning. Came through my critical liquidity zone with flying colors, went right through the target, and now we're right up against the next liquidity zone. Notice how it stopped there. This has been here for a long time on my chart. And I don't have a best daily data on this thing. Dang it. Chart dragging skills are lacking today. Klutzy. There we go. So we've kind of accumulated in that zone for quite a while. We've set up, more of a continuation pattern here, but it's hit the wall, so to speak. If it can break out of this, cool. We'll get a beautiful one-for-one movement just above the previous analyst target. We might even see it hit as high as like 162, 164 coming out of this. Definitely going to be a momentum trade if you're swinging this thing. I've got a couple of call debit spreads out there, and they're doing well today. As far as hitting any kind of resistance, it's going to be right here. And if you get inside this zone, typically it'll finish the move and make A to B on these type of things. So my target is actually 148. So I might go and take profit at that point, or convert it into something I can lock in some credit on, or lock in some returns on. I'm kind of known for that. I'll take a debit spread and convert it into a butterfly, so I can still maintain a position. I've taken the risk off of it. I've more than paid for the risk altogether in it. Typically, I do those above 100% return, and then I just sit and wait. And as it gets closer to the expiration date, if the price is right in there, those butterflies can become quite lucrative, and you can trade in and out of them. You can buy the credit spread back to continue with a debit spread, and many different ways to trade options. And that's what's great about it, is it's completely flexible when it comes to your trading. And we tend to teach a lot about selling options, and that's why I always love talking about those leveraged ETFs. To go back again, that's the kind of thing where you make those conversion strategies just really pay off. You can go and have synthetic longs and use that to generate income on option sales in the short term. Love that type of stuff. We teach you all
Yeah,
about it.
as I said, I think we had a couple of people in TSLT options yesterday selling some way out of the money.
It might have been a couple of my friends. I know a few people who
I
do
that's
watch
what I'm
those.
thinking. I mean, practicing what you preach.
That's right. I haven't had the chance to get into it yet, but I put a few limit orders out that just didn't quite get hit yet. And then I'm going to build this into my, as much as I hate to say it, I got to put some more oomph into my TOS account and do those, because Robinhood's being screwy with the limits of how many contracts they'll let me sell at a time. And I'm a little worried about that. I've been a great customer of theirs for a while selling options, and now they're doing some weird stuff. I don't know if their policies changed or whatever, but we're running on TOS. Moving forward, what was he talking about? Google. It just says Google, no sports? Okay, well, whatever. Let's look at Google. Google carries some weight in the market, obviously. Got a massive share. And we've kind of made our move to the top of our previous expected price target, and that was our measured move from way back. Good grief, why can't I get this chart to play right?
It's a weird looking chart. It's full of gaps.
Yes. Good Lord, I can't get this thing to expand enough. This is going to take me a minute. I'm sorry. There we go. Good enough. So you can see, I've had that nice measured move set up on this thing. It hit all three targets beautifully. And now we're kind of consolidating in this nice little descending wedge at the top, where we've got a chance to break out of this and nail that 140 analyst target, which we've done before. From there, I'm a little leery of whether it'll go higher, so I expect that to come pull back to the top of our big gap that we were just talking about here. Definitely got some key areas to watch on this thing. And again, this is, let's wait for probably a couple weeks to go by and see this economic news kind of shake out and see if we're going to get our Santa rally or not. But it's setting up to where everything's kind of looking like it might give us the good old Santa rally. So we'll see how it goes. We'll watch Black Friday sales numbers too, of course. But Google is certainly going to throw some weight at the market for that. And, when you got a big company and it's got its finger in every pie, it moves with the market. Going into what Wells Fargo says, they lifted a price target on Google. What would they say? 115. Well, they changed their 115 target to 110, so they lowered it. They downgraded Google? Really? Now we know we got it wrong. Pardon my dog here. He's just telling someone to get off the grass.
Dog does the same.
Yeah, just dogs doing dog stuff. That's pretty much it. I don't know who the hell would downgrade Google. That's just dumb. I'm going to totally...
Well, market's not having it.
Yeah, I suppose. And then there's another Jim favorite. Do we want to really throw some shade on him with this one? Affirm. That's a dirty word in some places. It's beautiful price action. I do tend to trade it when it sets up. It does pretty good. You can see I've got a lot of memory on this thing. Kind of ran to a bull target I had from way back. Let me throw the weekly chart at it. We were just basically retracing to this route here. Kind of nailed it. Now we're setting up where we might get a little bit more of a move out of it. Let me go to the 2-hour chart. So this is pretty simple. I mean, I'm drawing boxes all the time. I won't draw them here because you can see it. There's your primary move, accumulation, secondary move, nail the target, 50% retracement, gives half back. It's almost made it there today. Closed a strong wick with that last 2-hour candle. It looks like it will anyway. But we're not finished yet. I think we might go a little lower, kind of tap this $21 area, and maybe give it a boost back to retrace half of that move. You know,
Yeah,
might be.
the $21 area is a 10-day moving average. I know you don't
I
put
run
that
the
on
eight
your
day,
chart.
but it seems about right. You know, it's close. Right here on the 8 period is where that wick touched for the day. So yeah, it's kind of hanging where it can go. You know, make a little bit lower move, but it's got some retracement to do later. But the fun part is the target was changed. So they originally had a $17 target on it. Now they've given it an upgrade to $20. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's kind of right before our confluence here. So if they're calling that an upgrade and prices peaked out and headed down to it, that's where support would be. But I bet you it goes just about halfway to that, gets a liquidity grab, and then kind of snaps back up to the mean here, just price action wise. But you know, I know a lot of people who chased a firm all the way up to the 170s, and you know, some of those people I kind of taught them how to sell options on their positions and just kind of ride this mess out after all that profit taking took place and kind of capitalize that whole move. Uh, some of them are doing well; they're still holding on to their position and generating some income on their long position, and again hedging themselves and retaining some of their stuff. Cost basis wise, I know a couple of my friends who did chase it up that high. They've accumulated around $70 from this whole thing, cost basis from there. So they've got a lot of their money back, so to speak, generating income. But from here, it's like your options are going to tend to thin out when you don't have the volatility behind it. So you're kind of going to have to keep your price targets for break even on your trades a little bit closer, and that takes your risk and puts it up a little bit. Because if you get a sign on something that you paid so much for, and you're selling, you know, like 29 $30 calls on that thing, you can be in trouble real quick, and suddenly you're out of the position for a loss. So that's where when the volatility falls off, you kind of got to tighten your belt a little bit or add some synthetics to the position, and that's a whole nother ball game. But we get there. I love teaching complex option strategies to people who could really use the help, and that's where my heart is. So you know,
And that's a good place for your heart to be.
it is. It feels really good to help people with that, and just you know, I've reached out to the Wall Street Bets people before about the whole you know, the GameStop thing, and just it always makes me think. I'm like, good lord, the implied volatility spikes on the options chain for that was just massive. And even still, you can consider anytime there's any news about it, it pops up, and you get just monumental options income opportunities. I mean, I'm talking like 20% plus on monthlies, and at a time, they were like up to 50% returns on risk for monthly option sales, and it was just insane. You
Wow.
you couldn't. I mean, if, as an option seller, you would never pass that kind of opportunity up if you had a long position on it. You know, same
Yeah.
with AMC. So you know, when you can kind of weigh that as risk versus reward, or you know, outlay versus what kind of percentage return you're going to get on that, that's a home run. I mean, that's something that's like holy grail type stuff. At most, like I go and sell options on like you know, TQQQ all the time, and I'm kind of averaging like between 8 and 12% returns monthly on my option sales there, which is pretty good. But I mean, you get something,
Sure.
you know, like AMC or GameStop did. It's like, man, missing opportunities there. Learn how to sell options, man. It's a freaking gold mine. I can't say enough about it. I never stop talking about it when I do. So another one he was talking about. Where did I go? Oh yes, ARM. Remember that one?
Yeah, he flipped on that the other day. So I believe he is now bullish on ARM.
It's almost time. So we kind of printed this out. I think we printed this on a 2-hour when we talked about it. I'm going to zoom out and come back to it. So I had that big old bearish 1-for-1 down from that primary move here. It started accumulating here. It broke faster than we anticipated, but it did just about give us the halfway mark, right? So if you come down for this measured move, we usually always tell people put a post-it note on the corner of your monitor that says half and whole. Never forget that. Half that move, I put a pivot line across that thing, and dang if we didn't nail it and bounce off, right? So now we've got a really nice step up. We've got the capitalization of this move here is primary accumulation. Secondary, it puts us right back on that pivot. If it gives you a quick short, cool, you can short it down to like 47. Wait for this to break. Don't trade the setup, trade the break. And it could also go and retrace that high. So typically when you see these, you can trade either side. You just got to wait for the breakout. But the setup is there. It's got potential to make one more move against that pivot. It may even snap that pivot and finish the full-on 1-for-1 that we printed out from the big old opening range play up to the top where Cramer was saying buy. If it makes that move further south, I think that would be a great short. You got here to here at least. From like 50 to 47. And if it snaps that 47-30 area, you could start to see this thing plummet even further. So definitely keep eyes out. And this thing's going to have some interesting plays in it coming out. Just keep ahead of the price action on it if you're going to trade it. I'm sure there's more interesting things to trade out there, but this is just one of them where you could do pretty well with it. Did you guys cover that short on SJIM with this one? Or was this one we didn't get into and we got carved instead?
So he just flipped on it. So we were long, and so we just went short because he now likes it.
Perfect. Profit on both
We'll
sides.
see.
We'll see what goes. Yeah, he does like it, and when he printed this up yesterday, so it's like it didn't move. And now if he's bullish on it, it might take a couple of hours here before people get our broadcast and say, "Hey, maybe we should short it too." Don't follow what we say. Just kind of do your own DT. But definitely, it's interesting for his short. I kind of like it. As we say, that's one of those. It's so close to IPO time. We don't have a lot of back data on it, but price action is going to do what price action does. And when you get the words of Jim involved there, price action tends to do a little bit of escalation. And as far as time frames go, it just goes faster. So, like I say, he brings attention to these equities, and that's what we trade on. So, that's how we make a living. I didn't see the show, but was he pounding the table about Nvidia again?
Not really, no. Last night he spent a lot of time on the EVs. He doesn't like EVs. Not much that I remember about Nvidia though.
So we can see the accumulation for another breakout move, but that old price target at
One other
$500.
thing that was pretty cool, he not only doesn't like the EVs, but he did mention, and I don't think he said this for a while, he doesn't like the oil stocks. He always talks about Coterra, but he did tell someone he doesn't like the oil stocks right here. And I've been shorting oil stocks myself. They look like they may have bottomed. So
Getting kind of close. And, as winter comes in, of course, we know that energy tends to go up a little bit. Natural gas got beat to heck, and I'm kind of looking for the opportunity to take a long on natural gas. I always kind of joke about it, but I'm actually serious about it. I like to trade natural gas to help offset my cost of natural gas. So,
all right. I mean, to me, UNG is the widowmaker.
yep,
I
it
hate
is.
creating that thing.
I love it because I'll run debit spreads on it, and then I'll just do the swap strategy on it and leave it alone. I did very well with that last year and the year before. This year it's been kind of eh. I might not do it again this year, but if I see that it hits bottom and starts to bounce, or God forbid we have another natural gas crisis somewhere in the world, might happen. The one thing that you got to keep in mind when you're trading natural gas, though, is effectively it's kind of little known, but it's a byproduct of the oil industry. It kind of really is. So it's technically free, but They just put a price on it and make a market move because it's got to be worth
Well,
doing something.
sometimes UNG looks like it's technically free, especially when
Yeah.
you go long and it goes down a ridiculous amount.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't get that nickname for nothing. You can see I've got plenty of old levels on it. I've been watching it for a while, but if it comes off the bottom here, maybe it'll turn around. But $6 is going to be the critical mark. If it smokes $6, they're going to have to reverse split this thing sooner or later. Ouch. That is one heck of a bear move, but it can always go lower. It's kind of the rule of thumb. A lot of
Yes, it
people,
can.
chase those penny stocks that look like this. They always say, "Oh man, I'll just keep averaging down." Well, zero is a number. So that can be kind of a mean thing to say, but it's a hard truth that you just have to hear. So don't chase anything. Never chase. It always ends badly when you chase. Um, Moving into, he's talking a little bit about Microsoft and Oracle, of course, and then he throws NVIDIA out there again. But was he saying much about Microsoft? Because I was kind of bullish on it.
I mean, the only Magnificent Seven stock that I've heard him waver on recently is Tesla,
Okay. I mean,
which
this,
makes sense. It's the only Magnificent Seven stock that's wavering, and he's gonna like what's hot and tell you he doesn't like what's not.
oh, of course, that's just how it is. Go with the trend. Well, it was once a punk rock song. It's called "Not a Crime to Eat the Trendy." Just say, we like to watch people. We like to watch when people are paying attention to a stock, and like we always say, Cramer brings that attention to a stock, so we tend to trade it appropriately. With Microsoft, though, that was textbook. I mean, just it's an M top now until it's proven otherwise. It's still got that old analyst target up here, 398. It did get an upgrade at one point to what 415 there. I don't know about those numbers just yet, but I'm in an area of interest for sure. And I was bullish this morning running from A to B on this liquidity zone, and it hit my target. I day traded it, done. But I want to see if it's going to accumulate here and possibly set up for a move higher. It's definitely got the one for one look done right here. It fell through those liquidity zones, bounced back to them. Easy trades. We made the bear move on it. That was wonderful. You can see it shaded in red there. Now we're kind of stacking up. Maybe we can be a buy high, sell higher, but not the most interesting swing trade in my opinion. Just kind of wait for it to accumulate, and eventually we'll get some kind of breakout or possibly retest this liquidity zone a few more times. In fact, I'll probably end up turning this orange like I did for Amazon at one point when it was doing exactly the same thing, price action wise. He did get into Oracle, and Oracle's never really been a great stock for me to trade. I did take advantage of that gap down. That was awesome, but now we've made a nice one for one out of it. We trended for a little while after a 50% retracement back to the bottom. We're kind of back in the middle again. There's an old saying: you never want
Yeah,
to.
looks like that 115 area, one
Right.
kind of 114, 115.
It's got that look where it can go either way, but I'm gonna wait for this to get interesting before I go. And you know, everybody loves to say gaps all like to fill, but here's one gap that everybody's looking at. Here's one gap that everybody's not looking at. And that sets up the range bar for this move here. So, sure, it can go and start chasing this gap, but I would be very leery of going long on that until I see a good confirmed breakout, just my opinion. Definitely be careful if you're going to mess with this thing. It is setting up a bit of a pennant pattern or flag pattern today, if you will, on the 2 hour. It's kind of right at the end of it. So you can get a breakout here, but I'm going to mark the range candles in this move. There's two of them, and either side will tell me what to do next. So this bar here and this bar here. And I'm just going to mark that as three zones. Get above this, might get a long. Stay in the middle, don't mess with it. Get below this, might go short. Plain and simple. Always know where your range bars are. They'll tell you a lot. Other than that, it's not my favorite stock to trade. I do scalp it once in a while, maybe make a debit spread play on it or something with minimal risk, but not my cup of tea. It's one of those stocks. It's like Costco. I don't like trading that either. That's an investor's stock, in my opinion. Um, Looking at the next thing he was talking about, one of his other favorites, Twilo, TWLO. Oh, I don't know why anybody really talks about this. It does make some textbook moves. I mean, you can see clearly measured move down. We're back in the middle again. You don't want to trade in the middle. You want to wait for a break. And one of my esteemed colleagues over at the Bullish Bears there, he says it's a bit frank, but he says you never want to diddle in the middle. But one thing to notice on the weekly chart here is that we've got this nice descending wedge, and we've got a chance of breaking out here. So I'm going to throw a line on this chart and kind of watch it, but I'm not necessarily going to trade it until I start to see it become more interesting to me. This is a weekly chart, so break that
Yeah,
weekly
I mean,
wedge.
for me, if this breaks, actually, it did by 5 cents. I mean, theoretically, this is buyable at the 50-day moving average, but just doesn't look that interesting to me.
Yeah, it's kind of eh. I did mark the low on this range bar here, so it might finish the move from where it's at, break that wedge, run to $75. It's got a chance. I'm not gonna deny it that, but um, I know that the most that Cramer's colleagues will do when it comes to professional analysts is they're going to look at all the fundamentals on this company and make all their calls based on that. Price action tells me this could break out and make a nice return to the previous high here, that range bar. It may even trend out of that and maybe hit some of these targets up here, but man, it's got a long way to go. And capitalization has done its thing. I mean, that's your basic classic market structure that everybody and their mother knows about on Wall Street. And we've kind of diddled along the bottom here for a little while. So we'll see if it kind of makes a bottom break and returns to one of these previous highs. But in the meantime, it's not that interesting to me until it does something interesting.
Yeah, no, not interesting to me either.
Yeah, we're traders, man. We don't like to hold on to stuff for so long that it just gets to be a heavy bag, so to speak. Cart was the other thing that we talked about before, and that was one that was less interesting compared to ARM, wasn't it? And then
Yeah, so he is, hold on. I think he's negative on card. Card. He is negative on card.
it did eventually. I mean, I remember last time we talked about this was way back here in, oh gosh, September. We were looking at the liquidity zone here. I think we were talking about it. If it breaks this zone, watch out, it'll go down more. And it certainly did. Set up a really classic measured move down, hit the key low here. It may hit that again. If he's negative on it, though, I almost wonder if it's going to make a bounce. And it kind of has this morning. You can see he was bottom ticking that, so to speak. Made a long, kind of retraced a little bit above half of this range bar, but that's a wick there. So watch where the body closed here on this 2 hour, right under the 200 period, kind of in the middle of this. It might accumulate here and maybe finish a move back up to this previous high, but till then, I know it's got a little bit lower it can go as well. So as tradable stocks go, it's not one of my favorite kind of patterns to look at on a chart, but it can become interesting to someone. There's volume there. Somebody's trading it. So um, maybe let this thing shake out a little while before we start to have any interest in trading it much. It could do the Uber thing for all we know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
Definitely not one that I tend to pay that much attention to. Um,
No, me neither. I mean, I tend not to like IPOs anyway, just not enough price action to really get a good sense.
you mentioned Take Two,
Yeah,
and
he definitely mentioned Take Two.
that's a software company that I've never been interested in trading with it. I got a couple teenagers in the house, and I was, oh man, this is coming out, that's coming out. Take Two is going to do this or that. or Rockstar. I guess they had a planned release of a trailer for GTA 6 coming out or something like that. The thing I've known about companies that stick to that kind of software genre, in general, it takes a lot of R&D money to make these things happen. So you tend to see a lot of capitalization tactics in this particular type of equity, and then eventually it sets up some stabilization. So what we see here is we've had a nice clean move up to its all-time high up here, and we've capitalized down from the top there. This is a weekly chart, by the way. Some people would see this as daily candles and go, wow, that looks like a beautiful move right here. So we got a nice primary accumulated for a secondary move. For some reason, I have it marked in green, but this was a long time ago, previous analyst target, 192.50. I'm kind of seeing that it could do that if things get above this resistance here at 152. Sure. But just remember, this is all hype pushing this up for a week. And this is the kind of move
Yeah.
where it's right at resistance. So, like, sure, it could break out of this and start running higher. But, I'm definitely not interested in trading it until it makes that break. And then I might consider running some synthetics on this thing, as risk averse as I like to be in something like this. One thing I did notice, though, is it's got the classic range expansion side here. So this is like you got half the megaphone. Oftentimes, the accumulation will compress later and come to a point. I could see this thing going well into January before it makes a decision on a breakout. So that's just kind of, it's again not one of the charts I tend to trade, but it's got some moves left in it. Just be aware that it's right at resistance. It could be a good short for at least a move to like 138.50, but other than that, I'm not really too interested in this one. Can
Yeah,
it go
same
higher?
here.
Can it go higher? Sure, we could set this break up here. This is a classic bull flag. Give it the 60-40 rule. 60% chance of follow through, 40% chance of failure. If it fails, it's going to 136.50. If it breaks out, it's got a pretty good shot at 157, 51, 58, somewhere in there. Sure. Just beware. This is going to be kind of closing volatility by the end of the day, and maybe we'll make a move in the next couple weeks, either side. It's tradable, but it's just, again, it's not one of my favorite stocks to trade. It moves too much on hype, and it's kind of erratic in that sense. He did mention CRM.
Yeah, he
And
always likes CRM.
oh, where did he also say HUBS? What is that? I don't even know what HUBS, but let's look at CRM. I like trading CRM sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's holding its 50-day.
It made that beautiful weekly measured move to half and then rejected. So it's got some unfinished business. We could see it hit the high again. It's right at that pivot line too. That's half this descending channel move. So it's hit that target again. That might get interesting in a couple days. Was he bullish on this one?
He's always bullish on CRM. I mean that's Jensen Wong,
Yeah, that's
Zuckerberg,
right.
and then Benioff is probably number 3 on his list of people he's got a man crush on.
I think you're right. But I might give him kudos on this one. That was a pretty good call to the target, at least. From here, I'd
Well, I
love to
mean
see it break this
it
level.
depends. I mean this chart's all over the
It
place.
is. It's rough. It's either going to set up a second wind, and I'll draw it out real quick because I got a moment. It might make the move up here. I'd be skeptical on until it crosses the pivot line, so give it a day or two and see what she does. Take a note of the previous high, though, because we'll start to see some liquidity break into this later. Um, can it hit a halfway point and maybe get up to the top of this here doji? I like to mark those as a liquidity zone for later if it breaks out. So that's a tough call because it could definitely kind of get into either side of this. I
Yeah, I
know
mean
that
it's just messy. I mean I think there are other things I'd rather play than this.
absolutely. I'd say if it rejects, we've got a pretty good shot at running back to 204. Maybe we got a good shot at breaking this pivot and running the top side. I'm definitely going to keep this on my watch list. This is actually an interesting setup for me. Not something I would typically trade at this point because I'm going to wait for this to break. But I've traded it before and did very well with those setups. Those were easy, measured moves. This one's kind of waiting for a breakout, so could go either way. But for all intents and purposes, if he was bullish on this thing, and he's always bullish on it, good call. For the short term, at least. For the day traders, they're happy with it. We'll wait and
Yeah.
see what
They
happens.
weren't yesterday, though.
No, they were pretty bummed.
Yeah.
Let's see what he does. That's going to be an interesting one. I might keep an eye on that one. And then what is this HUBS thing? I haven't heard him speak of
HubSpot.
that one. Oh yeah. I have zero dope on this thing, and I have zero interest on it.
Obviously had a bad day yesterday. I would assume that was probably earnings related.
You know what it did? It went right to the previous accumulation. This guy here. It might be done. not not my favorite chart to look at. I mean, I don't have much interest in this thing. I hadn't even heard of it till just now. Like I skipped over this on the list. I hadn't heard of it so much.
I actually use it for my CRM.
Okay.
It's not a bad product. I have no idea about the business model. Obviously, their earnings disappointed somebody.
Yeah, somebody wasn't happy about it. They were anticipating good things, and then they, bought the rumor and sold the news, baby. Um, yeah, I would say this is going to be maybe of interest a little later, but it went right to the halfway point of the previous bear trend and kind of stopped and turned around for a good retrace to base. It might get interesting in a couple weeks, but not something I'm going to really watch much of. So far we've got maybe a good trade set up on like Microsoft coming up, and we'll see what happens with a couple of the other ones we were looking at. Last but not least, we've got kind of three more things on the list to talk about. He's got MGM was on his radar here. He says he would rather own Win, but I think I looked at this before and found that MGM was the better trade setup last time he talked about it.
Yeah, he always seems to like win. He's liked Win. I mean, if you look back from when Win was much higher, he's liked Win.
Yeah, and we can see, it's made a very classic measured move down. It still could come crawling up to the halfway point of $42.95, $43 in there. This accumulation, it is range expansion, so this could have a few more, possibly a week or two more of accumulation before it actually makes a good breakout. So I suppose he's right as far as ownership. This is definitely a good trading stock. It's got great price action. I don't necessarily like the options flow on it though, so I tend to steer away from those. But let me look at Win real quick.
Yeah, Win's getting its butt kicked right now.
Whoa, yeah, it is. Look at that drop. Although if it closes a doji here, I might be interested in a quick scalp back to like $88. That might get interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to trade it here, I'd probably use 83.52 as a stop. It undercut that and
Right.
move back above.
Now that I'm zooming out to the weekly chart, I can see
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that one too. That's
where it got interesting. I'll move that pivot line I have down to. It's going to be right about there. You're about right.
yeah,
83.
the time to buy this would have been in the morning.
Yeah.
It's already really extended from. I mean, it went down to kind of that 82 area, and now it's rallied up 350 and kind of flatlined.
Kind of drifted. I mean, I had originally mapped out a nice 1-for-1 on this thing. It didn't quite get the job done. Made this move 1-for-1. I had a pivot right in the middle of that. That was a good quick bull swing. And then there was angular resistance on this thing. I think I looked at this a long time ago and drew this. I think I drew this out here when I started to notice this area. I don't know, man. I mean, this is definitely something to keep an eye on for short-term swings. Maybe run a
Yeah,
monthly.
I don't know that there's. I mean, maybe at 3 o'clock it'll pick up again, but it looks Looks like if you didn't get in the morning, you missed the up move.
Yeah, for sure. And it's got some heat in it. It's definitely got the volatility we like to see. It's definitely got some good price action. Let's go into the 2 hour real quick here. We're kind of trading right between two key zones. So yeah, if we see maybe a little bit more accumulation back to like 84 or 80 or so, and then a bounce, we could get a good closing day trade out of it. Love to see it return to at least half of that previous trend. Yeah, this will make some moves. I like this one. This will be a good one to watch. Um, Might even throw that on the day trade radar for tomorrow to catch a couple rebounds on this. Cool. Kind of like that one. I guess, I might give old Jimbo a kudos there to say, hey, it's a great stock to trade. You're always bullish on it. You can
Right,
see
but Jim
that.
is not going to give you stocks to trade. Jim is
No,
giving you stocks to own.
right. We like stocks to trade. And, anytime he's bullish on it, that was a perfect SJIM short entry yesterday. Look at that. Oh, well, we'll catch it next time. But
Unfortunately, we don't have a position. He hasn't talked about it in a while, or hasn't pounded the table on it in a while. I know we have had a position, but not now.
he was saying something about this other stock here, Kellanova.
What is it?
Kellanova. Let's see. He said Barclays said to that they reduced it from hold to sell. Should be a little less premium than he mentions the ML or MPLZ. But let's go into this one a little bit. That's
What's the symbol?
just K.
Oh, just K.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
it's
K.
the Kellogg thing.
Yeah, yeah. That was a beautiful
Yeah,
measurement
so
of
K
down.
is Kellogg. I think Kellanova is something else.
Interesting. No, it says Kellanova. That's the
Oh,
word
all right.
spells
My
out there.
chart says Kellogg,
Huh.
but I mean, it spun off.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
This,
one of the ideas we're actually kicking around, and I don't know if I'll do it, but grabbing the symbol FATT and doing an ETF that's long the fat loss drugs and short the food companies.
that could be
You
cool.
never know. Depends on my mood.
Yeah, I could definitely give you some good leveraged options to sell anyway. Um, Kind of picking up on this. It gets a downgrade, and I always get skeptical when I hear, especially an analyst like Barclays. And when Cramer comes and talks about it, and he says, "Hey, Barclays gave him a downgrade," they're just saying sell from hold. That's always interesting because I can see liquidity's already been picked up here. I almost wonder if they're going to return this thing back up to about half that move, about 55.50.
So
And
I think this decline in the food stocks is overdone.
agreed.
And I think part of it was yield based, where you had the bonds so high. If interest rates come down, and I think you're going to start to see news coming out on side effects on some of these weight loss drugs.
Oh, sure.
So I mean, I actually do like a lot of these food stocks down here.
It's funny. You get the whole anti-gluten trend coming into effect, and then you get a war breaking out in one of the key suppliers of wheat, and then now we see some of the cereal companies, the cost basis of their materials to product kind of increased, and it made them bearish for quite a while. But now we're starting to see some things turn around here. So who knows? That's kind of interesting because yes, wheat is a very highly subsidized crop in this country here, but we should probably produce a little more of it. Everything else is going into corn production, and a lot of the corn production gets turned into ethanol, and the whole ball of wax spins. There's some things in the climate that kind of I'm not an ESG kind of guy, but I don't ignore things. The whole aquifer depletion thing that's affected the tilt of the Earth slightly, that kind of stuff
Yeah.
really gets my attention. And I almost wonder if maybe we make a pivot a little bit away from ethanol. Now we got hydrogen tech and EV tech kind of taking swing in that oil's not the main enemy. It's what's killing your planet more is depleting water. Water is the most precious resource we have, even though we got a lot of it. You start looking at stuff like it's affecting the tilt of the earth, and maybe someone will pay attention enough to be like, hey, maybe we should worry more about planting food crops and a little less about planting, oxygenating agent and fuel. Just saying. Kind of maybe kicks things around for wheat. Maybe we start producing a little bit more wheat. Costs will come down. Maybe some of these, you know, gluten people will come around and be like, "Oh no, it's been feeding mankind for thousands of years. Maybe it is a good source of food." Who knows? Anybody can speak their mind about that stuff and change the market. Anybody influential, anyway. But things are.
I mean, I would. I only eat meat,
I eat
but
meat and anything else I want. I'm on a seafood diet. I eat seafood. I eat
yeah,
it. And
I
I've
just eat meat, eggs, and bacon.
hey, that's right here too, man. And I do have some vegetables now and then. I do keep
I
up with
have not. I
vegetables.
can't remember the last vegetable I ate.
Oh no. Well, at least your meat eats vegetables, so you're still getting the stuff you need from it. And you look pretty
Yep,
healthy to me. Um,
I think I am.
still upright and breathing, so that's good enough.
Yeah.
Uh, the other side of that was MDLZ, and I'm kind of skeptical on that one. It's made its 1-for-1 down. It's kind of made its 50% retracement. It might have a couple legs left in it to hit 70 plex. That was the one Cramer was leaning on more
Yeah,
than
that one I'd be skeptical on. I mean, obviously it overdid it on the fat loss drugs, but now it's bumping up against its 200-day moving average.
right.
And we're in a market environment where it's the growthy stuff that's moving. So I would have no interest in this.
Seems to be. I mean, most of the people who chase this type of stuff is going to be your yield hunters, and it's got a decent dividend, but other than
Right.
that,
And again, with rates up here, I mean,
right.
it's yeah, I can still get over 5% on a T-bill. So
Absolutely. I mean, I can put like maybe a headway target on it around 70. If it hits that and turns around, we can definitely take a short on that. That looks pretty interesting for a short later.
yeah, I mean, I'd short it if it, kind of curled right around its 200-day moving average. Yeah, the problem is there's so much support under there. I'd just stay away from it.
Yeah, that'd be the smart thing to do. Just kind of lean somewhere else. There's plenty of other things to trade in there. So I think,
Yeah.
pound for pound, like Microsoft and Google might be the best two things to kind of look after for a good setup, and you can
I
just trade the
mean,
break.
I try to look at stuff other than the Magnificent Seven, but I mean, quite honestly, that's where the action is.
Right. I agree. And, Amazon had a great couple of moves today. It was good tradable, but, other than that, it's just because it's got lots of attention in it, and whenever you have attention, you got volatility, and that volatility changes every time someone chips their teeth about it. So, yeah, we might see some other stuff come into play here. I'm kind of still keeping my ear to the ground on some of the real estate stuff and waiting to see when those rate changes start to take effect or swing, pivot. um, you know, um, Real estate interest trusts, I've done well on them over the COVID lockdown, but until they start to make some decent moves, I'm gonna be like kind of hands off on that stuff and just wait for the chips to settle. So in the meantime, yeah, Magnificent Seven is just kind of where you focus for trading
Yeah.
right now.
And as we've been speaking, Tesla just popped up above the 10-day.
Nice.
I may have to buy some TSLT options.
Hey, I might see about setting up a little bit more risk into the debit spreads on that. I like to do a synthetic thing on that. I might see if I can scalp if I got enough liquidity, and I'll see if I can grab a couple of annuals on that, or not annuals, leaps 6 months out, and then set up my synthetic long, and then run it till it does its thing, and then sell some short credit spreads on it against it. Do the old conversion
Very
trade.
nice.
Yeah, Tesla, I mean, you look at the 2 hour and it's like, like we were saying, that does look like the inverse head and shoulders everybody looks for. If it cracks up above that neckline, it can certainly run this whole zone, no problem. Just keep an eye on that 207 pivot. That's going to be your critical support area. So if you were running stops, that'd be about where the stop runners would look, is right around that 207, 208 area. Cool, man. Well, good stuff. I think we're setting up for some good couple of weeks coming out later. Once we start to see, the Santa rally start to take effect, we should see some moves, and we could have a
Yeah.
decent November December setup here. So
Yeah,
That
we'll
makes
see. I mean, Kramer's on a roll again. That can't last.
Nope,
Never
that's for sure.
does.
That's for sure. We give him his kudos when he earns them, but again, we also love to throw a little shade at him. Mainly, we just like to watch him dance. That's always entertaining. That's what he does. You know, he's an entertainer
Yes,
above
it
all. But
is.
it's great that his heart's in the same place. He wants to help the market out or help the retail traders out like we do. But you know, price action rules all, dude. Technical analysis is what we do. So pays our bills, and we want to make it pay your bills. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll get this video out and probably at about 2:30 or so I'll upload it, and I'll send you a link, of course, so we can all spread it out and share the joy, share the joy, share the love, and maybe we even tag Cramer a couple more times. I know he's watching. See you guys next week.